The Mediterranean sun bathed the shores of Lebanon in golden light, its rays stretching over the ancient hills like the fingers of a long-forgotten god reaching from the heavens. The waves, heavy with salt and history, crashed rhythmically against the craggy coastline as ships from distant lands docked at the port of Tripoli, a gateway where east met west, where the promise of riches and conquest mingled with the whisper of ancient secrets. In the year 1109, the Templars came ashore. Cloaked in their distinctive white mantles adorned with the Red Cross, they stood as symbols of Christendom's military might. The waves lapped at their feet as they disembarked from their ships, their sandals barely touching the worn stone of the city's harbor side. Above them, the citadel of Raymond de Saint-Gilles, their new stronghold, loomed, a sentinel guarding not just the city, but the entryway to the heart of the Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem. Yet Tripoli was more than just a city to be conquered. It was a crossroads of civilizations, a place where the remnants of empires past still whispered through the wind-swept streets. The Templars knew this well. They had not come merely to raise their banners high and secure new territory. They had come seeking knowledge, and it was here, beneath the shadows of ancient ruins, that they would find far more than they had anticipated. The port town was alive with the hum of traders and travelers, each a living testament to the region's role as a vibrant melting pot of cultures, faiths, and philosophies. Arab scholars huddled in the corners of market stalls, their heads bent in conversation over scrolls of Arabic calligraphy. Christian monks from the Latin kingdoms chanted hymns as they repaired the cloisters of their monasteries. Persian mystics, cloaked in the dark silks of the East, offered cryptic advice to the passing caravans. And yet, beneath the surface of this bustling exchange, there was another layer of history, one that the Templars would soon uncover. The walls of Tripoli told stories of earlier times, of Phoenician merchants who had sailed the seas long before the first Crusaders raised their swords. These ancient seafarers had been masters of navigation, their ships bearing the weight of both trade and legend across the Mediterranean and beyond. It was the Phoenicians who had given the world its first true alphabet, their symbols scrawled across papyrus and stone in a language that would transcend the limits of time. To the Templars, these inscriptions were not mere relics of a forgotten past. They were a puzzle, one that had long evaded both Eastern and Western scholars alike. It was said that in Tripoli, hidden within the labyrinth of ancient tombs and catacombs, lay secrets encoded in the very stones themselves. The Templars, men of faith and intellect, believed that the divine order of the universe could be unlocked through the study of these ancient symbols. They saw in the remnants of the Phoenician past a key to something far greater than earthly conquest. But the Templars were not the only ones drawn to these ancient mysteries. A quiet presence had long observed the land, the Nizari Ismailis, known to the Crusaders as the Assassins. From their mountain fortresses to the north, they had watched as the Templars and other Christian knights carved their way through the Levant. While the Templars sought power through military might, the Assassins followed a very different creed, one that prized subtlety, secrecy, and the pursuit of forbidden knowledge. Their philosophy, grounded in a belief that nothing is true, everything is permitted, made them both feared and respected by all who encountered them. In Tripoli, as the Templars settled in and began to fortify their position, the Assassins watched from afar. Rumors would later circulate of secret meetings, of whispered conversations between the two orders. But for now, the Templars focused on their mission, to secure the city, to establish their presence, and above all, to unlock the hidden knowledge they sensed was buried beneath the city's ancient streets. The citadel, a formidable fortress that commanded a sweeping view of the surrounding land and sea, was the perfect base for such an endeavor. Built by the Crusader Raymond de Saint-Gilles, The citadel had been designed to protect both the city and its strategic importance as a gateway between the east and west. The Templars took immediate control of the fortress, establishing a foothold that would serve as a bulwark for the Crusader kingdoms of Jerusalem. But beneath its walls, there lay more than just military significance. There was something older, something far more enigmatic. Beneath the citadel's stone foundations, hidden chambers and tunnels spoke of a time long before the Crusaders had arrived, a time when Phoenician priests had carved their symbols and inscriptions into the very bedrock of the land. Some believed these chambers had been used for religious rituals. Others claimed they were secret places where knowledge was passed down through the ages, encoded in symbols and patterns too complex for the casual observer to decipher. To the Templars, these mysterious remnants were a call to arms of a different kind, not one of battle, but of intellect and discovery. The Templars had arrived as conquerors, but they would leave as seekers. They had come for the city's treasures, its trade routes, its strongholds, its wealth, but they would find something more. In the tangled streets of Tripoli, among the ancient ruins and forgotten inscriptions, they would encounter a hidden wisdom that transcended the boundaries of faith and empire. As the Templars made their way through the bustling city, they were unaware of the ancient forces that would soon draw them into a web of mystery and intrigue. The Phoenician codes, symbols and patterns carved into stones and secreted away in forgotten vaults, held the key to something much greater than anyone could imagine. The citadel of Raymond de Saint-Gilles stood as an unyielding monument to Crusader power. But beneath its imposing walls, the Templars discovered something far more intriguing than mere stone and steel. It was within the labyrinthine passages beneath the fortress that the Templars began their search for something greater, the forgotten knowledge of the Phoenicians, who had once ruled these shores with their unparalleled mastery of the seas and their enigmatic understanding of the universe. Though the city was filled with the clamor of daily life, it was in the quietude of Tripoli's ancient catacombs where the Templars first encountered the symbols that would shape their understanding of the world. These were not the straightforward inscriptions of the Latin world, the sharp angles of Roman letters, or the flowing script of Arabic. No, these were deeper, older, more elusive. The symbols carved into the stone walls of forgotten tunnels spoke of a wisdom long lost to time. The Phoenician alphabet, considered the first true alphabet in human history, had once allowed this ancient civilization to communicate across vast distances. It had enabled them to chart the stars, navigate the seas, and create a written legacy that would last millennia. Yet hidden within these very symbols, scholars speculated, was a more profound message, one that transcended language itself. At first, the Templars saw only the surface, a series of spirals, geometric shapes, and suns etched into the stone. But as they spent more time in the chambers beneath the citadel, their understanding began to deepen. Some Templars, drawn to the mathematical precision of the carvings, began to suspect that the Phoenicians had used their symbols not just for communication, but as a kind of code, a system of sacred geometry that connected the earthly realm with the divine. The Templars' own understanding of geometry, deeply influenced by their Christian faith, was rooted in the belief that the physical world could be a reflection of divine order. The architecture of their cathedrals, their use of the golden ratio, and their devotion to the pursuit of hidden knowledge all pointed to a belief in an underlying cosmic harmony. In the symbols of the Phoenicians, they sensed an echo of this same divine proportion. But the Phoenician codes were not easily deciphered. The symbols, though seemingly simple, were layered with meaning. Some appeared to represent celestial bodies, suns, moons, stars, while others seemed to hint at more abstract concepts, like the flow of time or the cycle of life. There were spirals that could be seen as representations of the Fibonacci sequence, sacred geometry that would later become central to the Renaissance understanding of nature.
Other symbols seemed to echo the teachings of Pythagoras, whose own beliefs about the relationship between numbers and the cosmos resonated with the Templar order. As the Templars delved deeper into the Phoenician codes, they began to uncover what seemed like hidden pathways, lines that connected certain points on the maps of the ancient world. These routes, they believed, were more than just trade routes or military strategies. They were lines of energy, ley lines that connected sacred sites from the distant shores of Byblos to the mountain peaks of Lebanon. These lines, it seemed, had been marked by the Phoenicians centuries before the Templars ever set foot on the land. The more the Templars explored these hidden paths, the more they realized that the symbols were not merely geographical. They were astronomical, aligned with the stars themselves. Some of the paths traced the movements of the heavens, marking the positions of celestial bodies like Sirius, the dog star, which had long been revered in the Middle East as a symbol of divine guidance. It was during one such exploration, deep within the catacombs beneath Tripoli, that the Templars made their most startling discovery. Beneath a heavy stone slab, they found a hidden chamber, its walls lined with inscriptions written in 3 languages: Latin, Arabic, and Phoenician. At the center of the chamber stood a large stone pedestal upon which rested an ancient scroll, bound in iron and sealed with the Templar cross. The scroll, when unrolled, revealed a map, not of land, but of the stars. It was a celestial chart, intricately detailed, showing the movement of the stars and the alignment of certain constellations with sacred sites across the Levant. To the untrained eye, it might have appeared to be nothing more than an astronomical map. But to the Templars, it was a key to understanding not only the mysteries of the heavens, but also the deeper connections between earth and sky, between the sacred geometry of the Phoenicians and the divine order of the universe. The map depicted a series of sacred locations, each marked with symbols, some familiar, like the sun and the moon, and others more cryptic, resembling the spirals and geometric patterns found in the Phoenician inscriptions. Some of these locations were already known to the Templars, sites like Tyre, Byblos, and Mount Lebanon, but others were more obscure, hidden in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered by those with the knowledge to see them. The Templars were not the only ones who had noted the significance of these places. As they studied the map, they came to realize that the Assassins, their longtime rivals, might also have been seeking this same knowledge. Rumors had long circulated that the Assassins, too, had their own secret maps, their own ciphers, their own hidden knowledge. But what was the true nature of this knowledge? Was it merely a map to treasure? Or was it a map to something far more profound? The Templars, now deeply immersed in their search for understanding, knew that they had stumbled upon something far greater than they had initially imagined. This was no ordinary war of knights and empires. It was a battle for the soul of humanity, a struggle for the secret knowledge that lay buried beneath the sands of Tripoli, beneath the ancient ruins of Phoenician civilization. For the Templars, the search for this knowledge would become their obsession. It was not just a matter of power, but of enlightenment. The Phoenician codes, once thought to be nothing more than ancient symbols, now seemed to contain the very keys to understanding the mysteries of the universe itself.
As the Templars continued their work beneath the citadel of Tripoli, piecing together the fragments of the Phoenician codes, their presence did not go unnoticed. High in the mountains to the north, where the peaks of the Lebanon range scraped the sky, a shadowy group had long watched the movements of the Crusaders. The Nizari Ismailis, known to the Crusaders as the Assassins, had made their home in the mountain fortress of Masyai, and their eyes were fixed not only on the Templars' military maneuvers, but on the same hidden knowledge the Templars had come to seek. The Assassins were a sect of Islamic mystics and warriors who followed a creed rooted in secrecy and discipline. Their name, derived from the Arabic word hashashin, literally hashish eaters, was a term born of Crusader misunderstandings, but it had become synonymous with their deadly skill and cunning. These men, often young and fiercely devoted to their cause, believed that nothing is true, everything is permitted. To them, the pursuit of knowledge was sacred, and their mission was one of intellectual, spiritual, and sometimes violent warfare against those who would seek to monopolize such knowledge. While the Templars operated under the banner of Christian military might, the Assassins' approach was far more subtle. They were not concerned with conquest in the traditional sense. Instead, they sought to dismantle the structures of power, both religious and political, that they saw as controlling and corrupting the flow of truth. This was a battle for the mind, not just the body. It was in this atmosphere of intellectual and ideological rivalry that the Templars and Assassins found themselves bound in a silent struggle, each unaware of just how deeply their fates were intertwined. On the surface, they were bitter enemies, with the Crusader Knights focused on their mission of territorial conquest, and the Assassins using their skill in stealth and espionage to eliminate their foes. But beneath this outward animosity, both orders were in search of something far more elusive, the ancient wisdom that had once been held by the Phoenicians. The Assassins, with their network of spies and informants, had long known of the hidden knowledge within the lands of Lebanon. Their own philosophy, built upon the teachings of the Ismaili school of thought, emphasized the importance of esoteric knowledge, wisdom that was hidden from the common people and revealed only to those who could understand its deeper meaning. The Assassins had always believed that the truth was not to be found in the scriptures alone, but in the mysteries of the cosmos, the geometry of the universe, and the hidden symbols embedded in the land itself. Much like the Templars, the Assassins had a deep respect for the sacred geometry of the ancients, and they too had begun to decipher the Phoenician codes that had been left behind. Their interest was not just in the symbols themselves, but in what they represented, an ancient knowledge that transcended religious dogma, one that could be used to control the fate of men and nations. In their search for these codes, the Assassins had uncovered a strange and ancient map, one that mirrored the celestial chart the Templars had discovered. The map, however, was not just an astral diagram. It was a guide to hidden places, locations where the ley lines of the earth converged, where sacred energy flowed like invisible rivers through the land. The Assassins believed that these places were not merely geographic. They were points of spiritual power, places where the veil between the material and the divine grew thin. The Templars and the Assassins, though unaware of each other's discoveries, were now bound by the same pursuit. The ancient star maps, the Phoenician codes, the sacred geometry, all pointed to the same hidden truth. Whether they knew it or not, both orders were on the same path, seeking the same knowledge, driven by the same hunger for enlightenment. But this search would not be without its dangers. Both the Templars and the Assassins were bound by their own secretive nature. They operated in shadows, communicating in cryptic symbols and hidden messages, always one step ahead of their enemies. It was only a matter of time before their paths would cross, and when they did, it would be not just a battle of swords, but a contest of minds, a war of intellect, philosophy, and faith. It was in Tripoli, the very heart of the Crusader kingdom, that the first signs of this rivalry began to surface. The Templars, having gained a foothold in the city, began to expand their influence, sending out agents to explore and map the land. They sought not only to strengthen their military position, but to understand the deeper mysteries that lay beneath the surface of the world. Meanwhile, the Assassins,
with their spies and informants embedded within the very fabric of the city, began to learn of the Templars' activities. They knew that the Crusaders were not just interested in gold and land. They were seeking something more, something that the assassins themselves had spent centuries trying to uncover. And so the assassins began to take action, sending their own agents into the city, watching the Templars' every move. The battle for Tripoli was about to take on a new dimension, one not of swords and shields, but of secretive exchanges, whispered conversations, and hidden alliances. In the shadows of the ancient city, beneath the watchful eyes of both the Templars and the assassins, something far more profound was at stake: the ancient wisdom of the Phoenicians. The city, once a crossroads of merchants and soldiers, had now become a battlefield for the mind. And as the Templars and assassins maneuvered through the twisting streets of Tripoli, both were unaware of the true depth of the mystery they were about to uncover.
The Templars' search for the ancient Phoenician codes did not remain confined to the darkened catacombs beneath the citadel of Tripoli. Their quest for deeper knowledge would soon lead them to an even more extraordinary discovery, one that would tie their fate to the very geometry of the land itself. For the Templars, as the Crusaders before them, believed that the earth itself was a reflection of divine order. They had already embraced sacred geometry as a means of connecting the earthly realm to the heavens, but now they were beginning to see that the knowledge of the Phoenicians held keys to a hidden order they had not previously imagined. The discovery of the scrolls and celestial maps in the catacombs had led the Templars to a new understanding. The symbols they had uncovered were not merely decorative or ornamental, but encoded instructions, a language that bridged the gap between the earthly and the divine. The Phoenician codes, it seemed, were based on the principles of sacred geometry, a system of mathematical relationships that linked the physical world with the cosmos. The geometry of the Phoenicians was unlike anything the Templars had encountered before. It was more than just the Pythagorean ratios or the familiar patterns of the golden ratio that had shaped their cathedrals and religious architecture. The Phoenician codes pointed to a much older, deeper understanding of the universe, one based on the idea that everything in creation was connected by hidden mathematical harmonies. In the designs of the Phoenicians, the Templars saw a reflection of the divine intelligence that governed the natural world. The Templars began to map these sacred geometries onto the land itself, using the ancient maps they had discovered to chart out the sacred pathways that connected the hidden sites of Lebanon. To their amazement, these pathways, the lines that the Phoenicians had once used to navigate the seas, seemed to align perfectly with key locations in Tripoli and the surrounding region. The locations of ancient Phoenician cities like Tyre, Byblos, and Sidon all seemed to fall along these lines, forming a network of sacred sites that stretched across the land like a divine grid. But the Templars were not alone in their search for these hidden paths. The assassins, ever watchful, had long known of the sacred geometries embedded in the land, and they too had begun to decode the ancient symbols. The assassins believed that these geometries were more than just markers of location. They were gateways to a deeper, spiritual understanding of the universe. The lines, they believed, represented not only sacred sites on earth, but also the paths of energy that connected those sites to the heavens. These lines of energy, or ley lines, were thought to carry divine power, and the assassins believed that whoever controlled these lines would have access to the ultimate knowledge of the cosmos. As the Templars and assassins began to uncover more of these hidden pathways, it became clear that their rivalry was no longer just about military conquest or political control. The struggle had shifted to something far more profound, a contest over the understanding of the universe itself. In the sacred geometry of the Phoenicians, both orders saw the promise of enlightenment, a glimpse into the divine order that governed the cosmos.
The Templars, with their fascination for architectural precision and divine symmetry, sought to use this knowledge to create structures that would reflect the order of the heavens. They believed that the key to understanding the mysteries of the universe lay not just in deciphering the Phoenician symbols, but in embedding those symbols into the very fabric of the world. And so the Templars began to work on a grand plan, to build a structure in Tripoli that would serve as a key to the mysteries they had uncovered, a cathedral not just of worship, but of cosmic understanding. The design of this cathedral would be based on the sacred geometry that they had found in the Phoenician codes. Every measurement, every proportion would align with the divine proportions that governed the stars. The cathedral would become a living embodiment of the connection between earth and heaven, a place where the Templars could commune with the divine and unlock the secrets of the universe. But as the Templars labored to construct their new cathedral, they faced a challenge that was both spiritual and political. The Assassins, who had long opposed the Crusader presence in the Levant, were not content to watch from the shadows. They knew that the Templars' work was not just an architectural endeavor, it was a spiritual quest, one that threatened to unlock the very secrets of creation. And so they began to take action, sending their own agents into Tripoli to infiltrate the Templar ranks and sabotage their work. The Templars, ever vigilant, were aware of the assassin threat. They knew that their rivals would stop at nothing to undermine their efforts, and they began to take steps to protect their secrets. In the quiet corners of the citadel, Templar monks began to transcribe their findings into coded texts, hiding their knowledge in plain sight. They created intricate manuscripts filled with cryptic symbols, maps of sacred sites, and geometric diagrams that could only be understood by those initiated into their mysteries. One such manuscript, known as the Codex of Tyre, became the key to unlocking the final mysteries of the Phoenician codes. The codex, when opened, revealed a hidden pattern, a geometric sequence that seemed to echo the movements of the stars themselves. The Templars believed that by following the pattern laid out in the codex, they could unlock the hidden ley lines of Lebanon and trace the path to ultimate enlightenment. But the Assassins, ever watchful, were close behind. They too had uncovered fragments of the Phoenician codes and understood the importance of the sacred geometries. But where the Templars saw a way to build a bridge to the heavens, the Assassins believed that the true power of these codes lay in their ability to disrupt the existing power structures, to tear down the falsehoods of organized religion, and create a new path to enlightenment, free from the constraints of dogma.
As the Templars continued their work on the cathedral in Tripoli, their focus was not solely on the construction of sacred spaces, but on a deeper, more clandestine task. Hidden beneath the citadel of Raymond de St. Gilles, the Templars believed there was a library, an archive of knowledge that predated the Crusaders' arrival in the Levant. This library, it was said, contained ancient scrolls, manuscripts, and codices, many of which were written in Phoenician and encoded with the very secrets they were so desperate to uncover. The legend of this library had circulated among Templar circles for decades. It was said to be a place where the sacred geometry of the Phoenicians was preserved, a hidden vault of knowledge that could bridge the gap between earthly wisdom and divine revelation. The Templars believed that the Phoenicians had passed down their knowledge to the local peoples of the Levant, but as the centuries wore on, much of that wisdom had been lost, buried beneath layers of conquest, destruction, and time. But the Templars were not content with rumors and legends. They were driven by a singular purpose: to reclaim what had been lost and to use that knowledge to secure their place in history. As they dug beneath the citadel, they uncovered tunnels, chambers, and vaulted rooms that had been forgotten for centuries. The air was thick with dust and the faint smell of ancient stone, and as they unearthed these hidden spaces, the Templars felt the weight of history bearing down upon them. This was no ordinary excavation. This was a sacred task, one that would reveal the mysteries of the past and perhaps reshape the future. Within the depths of these chambers, the Templars discovered what they had longed for: a series of scrolls bound in iron and marked with the Templar cross. These manuscripts, written in a variety of languages, Latin, Arabic, and Phoenician, seemed to hold the key to understanding the divine geometry that had once guided the Phoenicians across the seas. Some of the texts were religious in nature, filled with prayers and hymns dedicated to gods and deities long forgotten by the world. Others were scientific, filled with intricate diagrams and calculations that described the movement of the stars and the earth. The most significant of these manuscripts was known as the Codex of Tyre. This codex, bound in heavy iron and embossed with the symbol of the Phoenician god Melkart, contained a series of star maps and geometric patterns that seemed to be a guide to the ancient pathways the Phoenicians had once used. The maps depicted not just the known world, but also a series of ley lines, invisible pathways of energy that connected the sacred sites of Lebanon, the Mediterranean, and beyond. To the Templars, these maps were nothing short of a revelation. They believed that the Phoenicians, masters of the sea, had discovered a form of celestial navigation that was far more advanced than anything the Templars had ever encountered. The maps revealed a network of sacred sites, each one linked by invisible lines of energy, and each site aligned with the stars. The Templars knew that if they could unlock the secret of these ley lines, they could gain access to an entirely new understanding of the cosmos, a knowledge that could elevate them to a position of power unlike any the world had ever known. But there was something more to the Codex of Tyre than just star maps. The codex contained a series of geometric symbols, spirals, triangles, and interlocking circles that seemed to suggest a deeper, more esoteric meaning. Some of these symbols were familiar to the Templars, who had encountered similar geometric designs in the work of Pythagoras and other ancient philosophers. But there were others, more intricate and mysterious, that seemed to defy any known system of understanding. To the initiated, these symbols were a form of code, a hidden language that could only be deciphered by those who understood the divine proportions that governed the universe. The Templars believed that the Codex of Tyre was not just a map of sacred sites or a record of celestial events. It was a guide to the very structure of the universe itself, a blueprint for understanding the fundamental forces that governed the heavens and the earth. The symbols, they believed, were a form of divine geometry, a way of seeing the world in terms of harmony and balance. If they could unlock the meaning of these symbols, they believed they could access the ultimate truth, the hidden knowledge that had been passed down through the ages by the Phoenicians, and before them by ancient civilizations that had long since faded from memory. But as the Templars delved deeper into the mysteries of the Codex of Tyre, they became aware of an unsettling truth. They were not the only ones seeking this knowledge. The assassins, who had long been watching the Templars' activities, had begun to take an interest in the hidden library beneath the citadel. The assassins, with their network of spies and agents, had learned of the Templars' discovery, and they too sought to claim the knowledge contained in the ancient scrolls. For the assassins, the Codex of Tyre represented something different. They did not see it as a means to power, but as a tool for liberation. The assassins believed that the true path to enlightenment lay in the destruction of the established powers, both religious and political, that controlled the flow of knowledge. They saw the Templars' pursuit of the Phoenician codes as an attempt to consolidate power, to impose order on a world that was better served by freedom and chaos. For them, the Codex of Tyre was not a weapon to be wielded, but a means of awakening the masses to the truth of their own existence. And so the race was on. In the depths of Tripoli, The Templars and Assassins began to circle each other, drawn to the same source of knowledge but with radically different goals. Both sides understood the significance of the Codex of Tyre, its geometric symbols, its star maps, its hidden language, but only one could emerge as the keeper of its secrets. And in the heart of the citadel, beneath the shifting sands of time, the greatest mystery of all was waiting to be uncovered. The Templars had come to Tripoli in search of power. The Assassins, in their own way, had come to stop them. But neither knew that they were about to awaken something much greater than the knowledge contained in the Codex of Tyre. Something ancient, something eternal, something that would change the course of history.
As the Templars and Assassins moved ever closer to their shared objective, Tripoli itself became a battleground, though not one fought with swords or arrows. Instead, it was a war of minds, a struggle for dominion over the ancient knowledge buried beneath the city. For the Templars, it was a matter of securing their position in the world, of gaining access to power that would cement their place in history. For the Assassins, it was a fight for freedom, a fight to prevent the knowledge from falling into the hands of those who would use it to control rather than liberate. The Templars, despite their martial prowess and unyielding discipline, were not the only ones with a vested interest in the ancient wisdom of the Phoenicians. The Assassins, a shadowy brotherhood that had long operated in the hills and mountain fortresses of Syria and Lebanon, watched the Templars from afar. They knew that the Templars, driven by their obsession with knowledge, had discovered something dangerous beneath Tripoli, something that could change the course of the Crusades and perhaps even the fate of the world. The Assassins were no strangers to the struggle for control over knowledge. Their own creed was founded on the belief that knowledge was power, but that power should never be centralized in the hands of a few. The Assassins had seen what happened when the religious or political institutions hoarded knowledge. They saw it as a form of oppression, a way to manipulate the masses. For this reason, they believed that the Templars' pursuit of Phoenician knowledge could not be allowed to succeed. If the Templars were to gain access to the Codex of Tyre and its secrets, they would be one step closer to achieving their ultimate goal, domination over both the earthly and divine realms. Thus, the Assassins infiltrated Tripoli. Their agents, skilled in the arts of stealth and subterfuge, blended into the city's bustling markets and crowded alleyways. They whispered in the shadows, gathered information, and plotted their next move. But the Assassins knew that they could not act openly. They had to be subtle, for any direct confrontation with the Templars could spark a larger conflict that would disrupt the delicate balance of power in the region. So they worked in silence, using their skills to sabotage Templar efforts from the shadows, all while keeping their true intentions hidden. For the Templars, the Assassins were nothing more than a nuisance, a shadowy, elusive enemy whose methods they could not understand. But what the Templars did not realize was that the Assassins had already infiltrated their ranks. Some of the Templars themselves were being manipulated by the Assassins, unknowingly serving as pawns in a much larger game. These traitors, often high-ranking members of the Order, were passing information to the Assassins, leaking details about the Templars' excavation of the Citadel and the progress they were making in deciphering the Codex of Tyre. The Assassins, in turn, used this information to launch small-scale attacks, hoping to slow the Templars' progress and, ultimately, to prevent them from gaining full access to the hidden knowledge. The cat-and-mouse game played out in the shadows of Tripoli's winding streets, beneath the towering walls of the Citadel, and in the hidden chambers that lay beneath the city's surface. Both the Templars and the Assassins knew that the key to their success lay in the Codex of Tyre, the ancient star maps and geometric symbols that were said to unlock the mysteries of the universe. And both sides understood that whoever controlled the Codex would have the power to shape the future, to unlock the secrets of creation itself. But there was one more player in this game, a force that neither the Templars nor the Assassins had fully anticipated. The knowledge contained in the Codex of Tyre was not just a map of the heavens or a set of sacred geometry. It was something more. The ancient Phoenicians, with their mastery of the seas and their understanding of the stars, had created a system of energy lines that spanned the entire region. These lines, often referred to as ley lines, were said to connect the most sacred sites of the ancient world, creating a vast network of power that could be harnessed by those who understood how to read the signs. The Codex of Tyre was more than just a record of these ley lines. It was a map of the spiritual and energetic currents that ran through the earth itself. The Phoenicians had believed that these lines were channels of divine energy, conduits that connected the earth to the heavens. For the Templars, the idea of harnessing this power was irresistible. If they could learn to control these ley lines, they believed that they could tap into an ancient force that would grant them dominion over the world. For the Assassins, however, the ley lines represented a different kind of threat. They understood that the Templars' desire to control the Earth's energy was dangerous, that it could lead to a new form of tyranny, a tyranny that would be imposed by those who believed they had the right to control not just the physical world, but the very forces of nature itself. As the Templars and Assassins moved ever closer to their goal, they found themselves on a collision course, each determined to claim the Codex of Tyre and the power it represented. The stakes were high, and neither side could afford to fail. But the question remained, who would emerge victorious? Would the Templars succeed in their quest for divine knowledge and power, or would the Assassins be able to prevent them from unleashing the forces of the ancient world? Only time would tell. But in the silence of the Citadel, as the Templars pored over the codices and the Assassins watched from the shadows, one thing was certain. The battle for the ancient knowledge of Lebanon was far from over, and the fate of Tripoli, and perhaps the world itself, hung in the balance.
As the struggle between the Templars and the Assassins escalated beneath the shadow of Tripoli's citadel, a more immediate and pressing threat loomed on the horizon: the Mamluks. These fierce warriors, once slaves who had risen to power in Egypt, had become one of the most formidable military forces in the Middle East. Led by Sultan al-Ashraf Khalil, they had already dealt significant blows to the Crusader states, and Tripoli, a vital stronghold of the Crusaders, was next in line for their wrath. In 1289, the Mamluks, having secured the surrounding regions and established their dominance over the Levant, set their sights on Tripoli. The city, a beacon of Crusader power, had long been a thorn in the side of Muslim forces in the region. Its fall would mark the final end of the Crusader presence in Lebanon, and the Mamluks were determined to bring it under their control. The Templars, aware of the growing threat, fortified the citadel as best as they could, digging in for a siege that would test their resolve and the strength of their alliances. The Assassins, meanwhile, saw the coming conflict as an opportunity to strike. Though they had not yet fully understood the potential of the Codex of Tyre, they knew that the Templars' focus would soon shift from the ancient knowledge to survival, and they would be left with a window to act. As the Mamluks prepared for their assault, the Assassins quietly shifted their position, biding their time as they watched the unfolding drama. The siege began in the spring of 1289, with the Mamluks surrounding Tripoli and cutting off all supply routes to the city. The Templars, outnumbered and unable to receive reinforcements, fought valiantly to defend their fortress. Within the walls of the citadel, they dug deep into the archives, desperately trying to decipher the Codex of Tyre before it was too late, convinced that its secrets could turn the tide of battle. But the Mamluks, with their superior numbers and experience, began to tighten their grip on the city. Days turned to weeks, and then to months. The defenders of Tripoli held out against wave after wave of Mamluk assaults, but the situation grew increasingly dire. The Templars' knights, once proud and indomitable, now showed signs of exhaustion, their faces gaunt from hunger and strain. Even the Assassins, hidden in the city, could only watch as the city began to crumble under the relentless pressure of the Mamluks. As the siege reached its breaking point, a rumor spread through the ranks of the Crusaders. The Mamluks had discovered something. In the dead of night, under the cover of darkness, a small group of Mamluk soldiers had infiltrated the city, aided by sympathizers within the walls. They had found the hidden tunnels beneath the citadel and had begun to sabotage the Templar efforts. The Assassins, it was said, had struck a secret alliance with the Mamluks,
their agents working in concert to unravel the Templars' defenses from within. The Templars, now caught between the Mamluks' military might and the assassins' silent, insidious efforts, found themselves on the brink of collapse. Their carefully laid plans to unlock the Codex of Tyre and harness its hidden knowledge faltered as their attention was divided between fighting for survival and deciphering the ancient texts. It was on a moonless night in April 1289 that the final blow was dealt. The Mamluks launched a full-scale assault on the citadel, breaching the gates and flooding into the fortress. The Templars, exhausted and scattered, fought with what little strength remained, but it was clear that the city had fallen. The Mamluks stormed through the citadel, setting fire to the archives, and as the flames consumed the ancient manuscripts, the Templars' last hope of unlocking the secrets of the Codex of Tyre vanished in a swirl of smoke and ash. As the Mamluks secured the city, they found the remnants of the Templar orders scattered across Tripoli. Some knights had been captured, others had been slain, and still others had managed to escape into the mountains, vanishing into the night. But the most valuable prize, the Codex of Tyre, was nowhere to be found. It is believed that in the final moments of the siege, as the Templars realized the end was near, a small group of knights escaped the citadel with the Codex in hand. Some say they took it by sea, fleeing to Cyprus, while others claim they hid it in the mountains, protected by the very assassins who had once been their enemies. The true fate of the Codex of Tyre remains a mystery, as the knowledge contained within it, the ancient geometric patterns, the star maps, and the secrets of the Phoenician ley lines, was lost to history. The fall of Tripoli marked the end of the Crusader presence in Lebanon. The Mamluks had secured their dominance over the region, and the remnants of the Templar order was scattered across the Mediterranean. The assassins, who had once stood in opposition to the Templars, now found themselves with a new task: to ensure that the ancient knowledge of the Phoenicians remained hidden, for fear that it might one day be used to subjugate the world. In the years that followed, the Templars' influence faded, and the assassins continued their quiet war, safeguarding secrets that few would ever understand. But the Codex of Tyre and the knowledge contained within it never disappeared completely. Whispers of its existence would resurface again and again in hidden corners of the world, as the story of the Templars' Lebanese legacy passed into myth.
The fall of Tripoli in 1289 marked the end of an era for the Crusader states, but it did not spell the end for the ancient knowledge hidden within the Codex of Tyre. Though the Templars were scattered and their strongholds had crumbled, the secrets they sought never truly disappeared. They had merely slipped deeper into the shadows, waiting for those who were capable of unlocking them. For centuries, the mystery of the Codex of Tyre faded from the pages of history, becoming little more than a whispered legend. But even as the Crusader states dissolved, the influence of the Templars persisted, woven into the very fabric of Western and Middle Eastern traditions. Their symbols continued to appear in hidden places, in architectural designs, and in the cryptic writings of alchemists, astronomers, and mystics. The assassins, too, carried on their silent war, but their role in guarding the knowledge of the Phoenicians remained largely unknown to the world. The Brotherhood, which had once been a threat to the Templars, now operated under the shadows of history, quietly ensuring that the Codex of Tyre did not fall into the wrong hands. However, the assassins were not the only ones who believed that the ancient wisdom should remain hidden. As the centuries passed, new powers rose, and with them, new quests for knowledge. The Renaissance, a rebirth of learning and exploration, would bring to light many of the lost texts and ideas from antiquity. The ancient knowledge once hidden beneath the sands of Tripoli, however, would not be revealed by mere scholars. The Codex of Tyre was far too dangerous, too powerful to be allowed into the hands of those who would use it for selfish gain. In the 16th century, rumors began to surface once again, carried by seafarers and traders who frequented the Mediterranean. These men spoke of strange symbols seen etched into the cliffs near Byblos and Anphe, of a language that resembled both ancient Phoenician and mysterious geometric shapes. Some even claimed that the symbols were part of a map leading to a treasure far greater than gold or jewels.
It was said that one of the last surviving members of the Templar Order, a knight who had escaped the fall of Tripoli, had hidden the Codex of Tyre in a secret location along the coast of Lebanon. This knight, whose name remains lost to history, was believed to have taken the Codex to Cyprus, where he was said to have met with other surviving Templars. From there, the Codex was thought to have been passed on to a new generation of knights, who hid it once again, this time in the ruins of Tripoli, where no one would dare look. The symbols that appeared along the cliffs of Byblos and Anphe were not mere coincidences. The assassins, who had maintained a quiet watch over the Templars and their secrets, began to take notice of these reports. They knew that the Codex of Tyre had not been destroyed, that it still existed in some form, hidden from the world. The assassins believed that the time would come when they would need to retrieve the Codex once again to keep it from falling into the hands of those who would misuse its power. As the centuries turned, the myth of the Codex grew. It was no longer just a historical artifact, but a symbol of something greater: the pursuit of knowledge, the struggle for control over the unknown, and the quest to unlock the secrets of the universe. Scholars, explorers, and adventurers sought after the Codex, each driven by their own motivations, some for power, others for enlightenment. But despite the many attempts to uncover its secrets, the Codex of Tyre remained elusive. It was said to be hidden in a place that no one could find unless they understood the true nature of the ancient knowledge it contained. Some believed that the Codex had been sealed by a curse, others that it had been protected by an order of monks who had sworn to keep its power from the world. Still others claimed that the Codex could only be unlocked by those who knew the ancient geometric formulas and star maps contained within the text. Over the centuries, the search for the Codex of Tyre became more than just a physical journey. It became a metaphor for the eternal human quest for truth and understanding, the search for a knowledge that transcended the boundaries of time and space. The Codex, in many ways, became a symbol of the very essence of the human spirit, a desire to unlock the mysteries of the universe, to understand the divine, and to find meaning in the chaos of existence. In the 19th century, during the Age of Exploration, a new wave of interest in the Templars and their secrets swept across Europe. Archaeologists, Freemasons, and occult societies all became fascinated by the idea of hidden knowledge and the possibility of uncovering ancient codes. Some claimed that the Codex of Tyre was the key to understanding the true nature of the Templar Order, while others believed it contained the secret to unlocking the hidden power of the Phoenician ley lines. Among those who searched for the Codex was a French historian and archaeologist, Charles Devereux, who became obsessed with the idea that the Codex of Tyre could be hidden in the ruins of the Templar Citadel in Tripoli. Devereux spent years scouring the city and its surrounding regions, piecing together fragments of the Templar Legacy and studying the symbols and maps left behind by the Crusaders. He discovered strange geometric patterns in the layout of Tripoli's fortifications, patterns that seemed to align with the star maps in the Codex of Tyre. But despite his best efforts, Devereux was never able to uncover the Codex, and he eventually disappeared under mysterious circumstances, his fate remaining unknown. The search for the Codex of Tyre continued into the 20th century, but the trail grew colder with each passing decade. The ruins of Tripoli and its ancient citadel stood as silent witnesses to the passage of time, and the secrets buried beneath the city were left undisturbed. Yet the legend of the Codex and the Templars' quest to unlock its power continued to capture the imagination of those who believed in its existence. Today, the Codex of Tyre remains one of the most elusive mysteries of history. Its exact location, if it still exists, is unknown, yet the search for it continues, both in the physical world and in the hearts of those who seek to uncover the ancient knowledge that has been lost to time. The Templars' legacy endures, not in the form of their stone fortresses or their battle banners, but in the hidden knowledge they left behind, in the whispers of the Codex of Tyre.
The fall of Tripoli and the scattering of the Templar Order did not bring an end to their influence. Though the knights had been forced to flee and their sacred libraries destroyed, their knowledge lived on, not only in secret manuscripts, but in the very architecture they had left behind. The citadel of Tripoli, which had once been a fortress of Templar might, stood as a silent testament to the enduring presence of their mysteries. its walls concealing more than just the history of a lost kingdom. It was in the geometry of the Templar fortifications that the first clues were hidden. The citadel's design was not just a military strategy. It was a reflection of the knights' belief in sacred geometry. The notion that divine knowledge could be encoded in the proportions and alignments of the structures they built. This geometry, a legacy of the Phoenicians and their mastery of celestial and earthly measurements, became the key to unlocking the Templars' hidden knowledge. The Templars, like the Phoenicians before them, believed that the universe operated according to mathematical and geometric principles. They sought to reflect this divine order in their buildings, which they considered not just as fortresses, but as physical manifestations of the cosmos. The layout of the Citadel of Tripoli, like many Templar sites, was designed with meticulous precision, aligning certain structures with the movements of the stars and planets. One of the most significant features of the Citadel's design was the use of the golden ratio, a proportion that had been known to ancient civilizations, including the Greeks and Egyptians. This ratio, also called the divine proportion, was believed to be the key to understanding the harmony of the universe. The Templars, influenced by Phoenician astronomical knowledge, used this ratio to shape the architecture of their citadels, placing special emphasis on the positioning of key structures and the alignment of walls with celestial bodies. But the Templars did not stop with the physical structure. Beneath the citadel, in the labyrinthine tunnels and chambers, there were rumors of inscriptions carved into the walls. These symbols, thought to be derived from Phoenician and ancient Egyptian geometry, were said to be part of a code, a key to unlocking the secrets of the cosmos. These markings were not simply decorative. They were part of a larger puzzle that the Templars had been working to decode for centuries. Scholars who have studied the Citadel of Tripoli have long speculated that the layout of the city and its fortifications was not arbitrary. The positioning of key buildings, the orientation of certain gates, and even the width of the streets were all believed to follow the principles of sacred geometry. It was as though the Templars had been trying to recreate a miniature version of the cosmos within the walls of their fortress. This was no mere coincidence. The Templars, having been exposed to the ancient wisdom of the Phoenicians, believed that the world itself was a reflection of divine order, a vast and interconnected web of energy and light. By aligning their buildings with the stars, they sought to tap into this cosmic power, to bring the divine order of the heavens down to earth. It was this very belief that drove them to build fortresses and cathedrals across Europe, all designed with the same geometric principles. Yet the Templars' use of sacred geometry was not confined to architecture alone. They also incorporated these principles into their secret manuscripts, the Codices of Tyre, which contained instructions for building temples and structures that mirrored the cosmos. The texts were not simply guides to construction, but encoded maps to a hidden knowledge, a knowledge that could only be understood by those who were initiated into the mysteries of sacred geometry. The Phoenicians, who had once sailed the seas and traded across the Mediterranean, were the original masters of this knowledge. Their influence on the Templars was profound, not only in the design of their buildings, but in the way they viewed the world. The Phoenicians believed the earth was a reflection of the heavens, a belief that was passed down through the ages and embraced by the Templars. The Codices of Tyre, preserved in secret, contained a hidden language of symbols and numbers that could only be understood by those who knew the key to unlocking the mysteries of the stars, the earth, and the divine. As the Templar order began to dissolve in the 14th century, many of these secrets were lost. Some believe that the surviving knights carried these codes with them, hiding them away in secret locations. Others argue that the Templars' knowledge was passed down through other secret societies, including the Freemasons, who later adopted many of the Templar symbols and beliefs. In the centuries that followed, the geometry of the Templars and the Phoenicians became a subject of fascination for scholars, architects, and mystics. The idea that the very design of a building could be a reflection of divine order captured the imaginations of Renaissance artists and architects, who saw in sacred geometry a way to bring beauty and harmony to the world. It was in the works of these artists that the legacy of the Templars' geometry would be reborn, as even the Templar order itself had faded into history. Today, the study of sacred geometry continues to inspire those who seek to understand the deeper mysteries of the universe.
From the great cathedrals of Europe to the hidden ruins of the Levant, the legacy of the Templars and the Phoenicians endures, encoded in the very stones of the earth. The citadel of Tripoli, though a shadow of its former self, stands as a reminder of this hidden knowledge, a knowledge that continues to fascinate and inspire those who look to the stars and the sacred geometry that ties all things together.
In the shadow of the Templar citadels, far from the grand castles and palaces, another brotherhood watched quietly over the lands of Lebanon, the Nizari Ismailais, more commonly known to the West as the Assassins. Unlike the Templars, whose power was rooted in military might and alliances, the Assassins operated in silence, their influence woven into the very fabric of the shadows. Their mission was far different, to guard the ancient wisdom and secrets of the East, even as the Crusaders and their Templar counterparts sought to unravel them. While the Templars made their mark on the world with stone, gold, and battlements, the Assassins made theirs through stealth, philosophy, and the quiet passage of time. Theirs was a war of the mind, a battle not for land, but for knowledge. The Assassins had long been guardians of the esoteric wisdom passed down from the Phoenicians, and in the crucible of the Crusades, this ancient knowledge became more important than ever. For in the heart of Lebanon, beneath the moonlit mountains and beneath the layers of ancient cities, the secrets of the Phoenician codes still lay hidden. The Assassins' fortress in the mountains of Masyaf, once a seat of power and mystery, stood as the perfect symbol of their quiet vigilance. From its high perch, they watched the world below, including the Templars, who had set their sights on the same treasure, the knowledge of the ancients, believed to be encoded in the very land and sea of Lebanon. The Assassins' philosophy was rooted in the belief that nothing is true, everything is permitted. To the Assassins, the pursuit of truth was not a matter of following a rigid path or adhering to a set of dogmatic rules. Rather, it was a continuous journey of self-discovery and personal enlightenment. They believed that only those with true insight could decipher the mysteries of the universe, and those who sought this knowledge without the wisdom to wield it would inevitably fall into chaos. For the Assassins, the greatest enemy was not the Templars nor the Crusaders, but the misuse of ancient wisdom. The Templars, with their hunger for power and their drive to control the secrets of the Phoenicians, were seen as dangerous adversaries. The Assassins, on the other hand, sought to protect and preserve this knowledge, even if it meant sacrificing their lives in the process. The Assassins' cryptic messages and secretive ways became a matter of legend among the Templars, who had always suspected that the true key to unlocking the mysteries of the universe lay not in their own writings and codes, but in those hidden by their enemies. The Assassins and Templars, locked in an eternal struggle for control of ancient knowledge, began to exchange more than just blades and arrows. They exchanged secret maps, texts, and symbols, which they believed held the key to unlocking the Phoenician codes and the wisdom of the stars. In the forests and caves of the Lebanese mountains, it is said that meetings between Assassin and Templar envoys took place, secret and fleeting, yet critical. These meetings were never openly acknowledged by either side, but the whispers of their existence continued to circulate. According to some accounts, these clandestine exchanges were driven by a shared need to decode the ancient star maps and geometric formulas left behind by the Phoenicians. Each side believed that they held a piece of the puzzle, but neither was able to fully unravel it. It is said that during these covert meetings, the Assassins introduced the Templars to a series of maps that linked the ancient Phoenician cities of Byblos, Tyre, and Sidon with sacred sites in the mountains of Lebanon. These maps, written in a script that combined Phoenician letters with geometric symbols, were rumored to contain the coordinates of sacred ley lines, energy routes that connected the physical and metaphysical realms. These lines, said to trace the path of the stars, were thought to hold the key to understanding the balance between the earth and the heavens. The Assassins, much like the Templars, believed that the alignment of sacred sites was more than just a matter of geographical convenience. To them, it was a manifestation of a greater cosmic order. And while the Templars sought to harness this power for their own ends, the Assassins were determined to preserve it
even if it meant hiding the knowledge from the world forever. Yet, despite their differences, there were times when the Assassins and Templars found common ground. They shared an understanding of the importance of the ancient codes, even if their motivations were at odds. In these rare moments of cooperation, the exchange of knowledge was not about conquest, but about the protection of the wisdom that had been passed down through the ages. One such exchange is believed to have taken place in the heart of the Templar stronghold at Tripoli. A secret meeting between assassin and Templar envoys, disguised as pilgrims or merchants, was arranged in the quiet hours of the night. The two parties, each suspicious of the other, spoke in hushed tones in the shadow of the great citadel, sharing fragments of maps and cryptic symbols. These maps, however, contained more than just directions to sacred sites. They also revealed the location of hidden texts, believed to be part of the Codex of Tyre. In the years that followed, rumors began to circulate that some of the most important texts of the Templars, including those that contained references to Phoenician geometry and star maps, had been smuggled out of Lebanon. It was believed that these texts had made their way to Europe, where they were hidden in plain sight, waiting to be rediscovered by the scholars of the Renaissance. Despite the failure to secure the Codex of Tyre, the assassins' vigilant guardianship of the knowledge would prove to be pivotal. The secret war between the Templars and Assassins was not just a battle of swords and ideals, but a battle for the future of the ancient wisdom that had once been passed down by the Phoenicians. The Assassins understood the danger of misusing this knowledge, and as long as they remained watchful, the Templar thirst for power could not claim it. The Templars, for all their might and ambition, had underestimated the Assassins. Their focus on control and domination blinded them to the true nature of the knowledge they sought. For it was not about power over the land or the heavens. It was about understanding the deeper truths of existence, truths that could only be grasped by those willing to look beyond the surface and peer into the mysteries of the universe. And so the Assassins continued their silent vigil, guarding the hidden knowledge of the Phoenicians, the Templars, and all who sought the truth. Their legacy, like that of the Phoenicians and Templars, would remain woven into the fabric of history, not as a visible force, but as an enduring influence, quietly shaping the course of the world from the shadows.
Beneath the shadow of Tripoli's imposing citadel, where Crusader banners once flew proudly above the Mediterranean port, there lingered whispers of a far older history, one buried not in the earth, but in the walls themselves. The citadel of Raymond de St. Gilles, constructed by the Templars to safeguard their presence in the Levant, was more than just a fortress. It was, for many, a key to unlocking the mysteries of the land and the heavens, encoded in ancient texts and hidden libraries thought to be lost forever. For centuries, the stone walls of Tripoli's citadel stood as a silent witness to the rise and fall of civilizations. Its walls had seen the glory of the Crusaders and the devastation of the Mamluks. Yet hidden beneath the layers of history, there were secrets that even the most seasoned of warriors could never have dreamed of. Forgotten libraries, cryptic scrolls, and esoteric knowledge left behind by those who had walked these shores long before the Templars ever arrived. The story of the hidden library beneath the citadel has been passed down through local legend, whispered among the people of Tripoli, and recounted by travelers and historians alike. According to these tales, the library was sealed away centuries ago, its scrolls hidden from the eyes of conquerors and invaders. Local legend tells that the library contained books written in 3 languages: Latin, Arabic, and Phoenician, a trifecta of civilizations whose knowledge and wisdom had shaped the world. These texts were believed to hold the key to the ancient wisdom of the Phoenicians, who had once ruled the Mediterranean with unparalleled mastery of the seas and trade. It was said that these scrolls contained not only records of the Phoenician people's voyages and commercial triumphs, but also something far more profound: instructions on sacred geometry, the mapping of celestial pathways, and the codes of divine proportion that had guided their understanding of the world.
As the Templars, driven by their insatiable quest for knowledge, began to build their stronghold in Tripoli, they were drawn to the same wisdom that had inspired the Phoenicians long before them. The Templars, too, sought to unlock the mysteries of the ancient world, to harness the power of sacred geometry, astronomy, and the divine codes that had guided civilizations for millennia. Yet it was not only the Templars who sought these secrets. The Assassins, aware of the Templars' intentions, also watched the city closely, knowing that whoever controlled this hidden knowledge would hold the key to unlocking the future. The Templars' interest in Tripoli was not limited to its strategic importance as a Crusader stronghold. The city, rich in ancient history and culture, was seen as a treasure trove of esoteric knowledge that could further their mission. The discovery of the Codex of Tyre, believed to be hidden somewhere within the citadel, was a prize they could not ignore. This ancient manuscript, containing the secrets of Phoenician geometry and star maps, was said to be inscribed with sacred formulas that could reveal the path to enlightenment, or, for those less enlightened, the power to control the forces of nature. For years, the Templars scoured Tripoli, searching for any trace of this hidden knowledge. They explored the depths of the citadel, seeking out secret chambers and forgotten catacombs. Yet despite their best efforts, they found nothing. Local myths persisted, however, suggesting that the library was not just a place of learning, but also a place of protection. Some believed it was guarded by a secret order of monks, sworn to protect the knowledge contained within. Others claimed that the library was sealed by a series of complex traps designed to deter any would-be intruders who lacked the necessary wisdom to enter. One such account, recorded by a Templar scribe in the 13th century, speaks of a hidden passage beneath the citadel, leading to a subterranean chamber where the Codex of Tyre was believed to be stored. According to the scribe, the passage was guarded by intricate symbols and geometric patterns that matched the designs found in Phoenician inscriptions. To unlock the passage, one had to decipher these symbols, using knowledge of sacred geometry and the ancient Phoenician alphabet. But despite their relentless search, the Templars were unable to uncover the library's location. And as the Crusader states began to crumble, Tripoli fell to the Mamluks in 1289. The city, its walls smoldering and its people scattered, became a symbol of the end of an era. The Templars, defeated and broken, were scattered across the Mediterranean world. The treasure they had sought so desperately was lost once more. Yet the story of the library did not end with the fall of Tripoli. In the years that followed, rumors persisted of knights who had escaped the Mamluks' wrath, carrying with them chests filled with scrolls and relics. These knights, it was believed, had hidden the Codex of Tyre and other sacred texts, fleeing to distant lands where the knowledge could be preserved. Some suggest they sailed to Cyprus, while others believe they made their way to the south of France, carrying with them the wisdom of the Phoenicians. Despite centuries of searching, the Codex of Tyre has never been found, and the hidden library beneath the citadel remains a mystery. Modern archaeologists have yet to uncover any physical evidence of the legendary chamber, and many believe that the true location of the library will never be revealed. However, the legacy of the Templar search for the Phoenician codes lives on in the architecture and symbols they left behind. The geometric patterns that the Templars incorporated into their castles and churches from Tripoli to the distant corners of Europe bear a striking resemblance to the sacred geometry that once the Phoenicians have used. These designs, it is believed, were more than just decorative. They were a reflection of the knowledge that the Templars sought to preserve, a knowledge encoded in the very structure of the world itself. In the end, the quest for the Phoenician wisdom and the Codex of Tyre remains an enduring mystery. The Templars' pursuit of knowledge, the Assassins' silent vigilance, and the whispers of a hidden library beneath Tripoli's citadel form the foundation of a legend that continues to captivate the imagination of those who seek to uncover the truth of the ancient world. The Templars were no ordinary order of knights.
Their pursuit of knowledge, deeply entwined with their mission as warriors, set them apart from the typical soldier or ruler. It was their belief that the world itself could be understood and shaped through sacred geometry, a system of proportions and alignments that echoed both the divine and the natural order. But it was not just any geometry they pursued, it was a secret geometry, one that connected the earthly and the celestial, the known and the unknown. And, as the Templars discovered, the ancient lands of Lebanon, with their rich history and enduring mysteries, held the key to unlocking that sacred code. In the heart of the Levant, where the Mediterranean Sea meets the mountains of Lebanon, the Templars' presence was not only a military one, but also a spiritual and intellectual endeavor. It was in this region that they came into contact with ideas that were older than Christianity, older than Islam, even older than the Roman Empire. These were the ideas of the Phoenicians, masters of the seas, who had once charted the stars and mapped the sacred geometry of the heavens. The Phoenicians, known for their advanced knowledge of astronomy, navigation, and architecture, had long since disappeared from the historical stage. Yet their influence remained etched into the landscape. Their symbols, their language, and their understanding of the cosmos had been passed down through the ages, quietly influencing the rise and fall of civilizations. The Templars, with their obsession for hidden knowledge, were not blind to these connections. They sought to uncover the ancient wisdom of the Phoenicians, believing it held the key to understanding the divine order of the universe. One of the most striking features of the Templar settlements in Lebanon was their alignment with the stars. Scholars have long speculated that the Templars, influenced by the Phoenician tradition of celestial navigation, constructed their fortresses and strongholds in alignment with specific constellations. The most notable of these is the constellation of Orion, which, according to some theories, played a central role in the Templar worldview. The alignment of the Templar castles and churches in Lebanon, particularly the strongholds in Tripoli, Byblos, Batran, and Tyre, closely mirrors the position of the stars in the Orion constellation. This alignment is not a coincidence, nor is it merely a reflection of the Templars' military strategy. Rather, it is believed to be a deliberate attempt to mirror the sacred geometry of the stars, creating a connection between the earthly realm and the divine. The Phoenicians themselves had long been aware of the importance of the stars, particularly the bright and powerful stars of the Orion constellation. The ancient city of Byblos, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, was known to have a special connection to Orion, with its architectural alignments and temple structures pointing toward the starry sky. This connection between the stars and the land was not only a matter of navigation, it was also a matter of cosmic order. The Phoenicians believed that the stars were a reflection of the divine, and by aligning their cities and temples with the stars, they sought to bring divine order to the world below. The Templars, inheriting this ancient knowledge, sought to replicate this celestial alignment in their own constructions. But they did not stop at mere architectural alignments. They also incorporated the principles of sacred geometry into the design of their fortresses. The use of geometric shapes, such as the triangle, circle, and square, was integral to their buildings, as these shapes were thought to symbolize the divine proportions of the universe. The most famous example of this is the Templar cross, which incorporates the geometry of the square and the cross, both symbols of divine order. What the Templars may have understood, though, was that these geometric patterns were more than just symbols. They were, in fact, physical representations of the forces that governed the universe, forces that connected the earth, the stars, and the divine.
The Templars believed that by aligning their strongholds with the stars and embedding sacred geometry into their architecture, they could tap into these forces and harness their power. But the Templars were not the only ones who recognized the power of these ancient alignments. The Assassins, too, were aware of the significance of the stars and the hidden knowledge encoded in the landscape. The Assassins, who operated in the mountains surrounding Tripoli, were not just warriors, they were also philosophers and mystics, deeply invested in understanding the mysteries of the cosmos. Like the Templars, they sought to uncover the hidden knowledge of the Phoenicians, and they too were drawn to the sacred geometry that lay beneath the surface of the land. It is said that the Assassins and the Templars, despite their animosity toward one another, shared a common goal: the pursuit of knowledge. This shared pursuit led to moments of unexpected collaboration, as the two orders exchanged maps, scrolls, and teachings in their attempts to unlock the secrets of the ancient world. Whether through hidden libraries, sacred geometry, or astronomical alignments, both the Templars and the Assassins sought to uncover the wisdom of the Phoenicians, a wisdom that they believed would lead them to a greater understanding of the universe and their place within it. In the centuries that followed, as the Crusader states fell and the Templars were dissolved, the ancient wisdom they had sought continued to echo through the ruins of Lebanon. The legacy of the Templars' quest for celestial knowledge lived on in the architecture of medieval Europe and in the esoteric traditions that flourished during the Renaissance. But it also lived on in the land of Lebanon, where the mountains and coastlines, with their sacred geometry and celestial alignments, continue to hold the secrets of a bygone age. Today, modern scholars and archaeologists continue to study the ancient Templar sites in Lebanon, trying to uncover the full extent of the knowledge that the Templars sought to preserve. Some believe that the alignments of the Templar castles and churches are not more than a coincidence, but that they are a reflection of an ancient, secret knowledge that has been hidden for centuries. Others believe that the Templars' use of sacred geometry was merely a reflection of their belief in divine order and their desire to bring harmony to the world. What is certain is that the Templars' time in Lebanon left an indelible mark on the land and its people. Their search for hidden knowledge, their pursuit of celestial wisdom, and their use of sacred geometry continue to captivate the imagination of those who seek to understand the mysteries of the past.
The year was 1289. Tripoli, one of the most prominent strongholds of the Crusader states in the Levant, was about to fall. For nearly a century, the city had been a symbol of Christian resilience in the heart of the Muslim world, and the citadel of Raymond de St. Gilles had stood as a testament to the power and ambition of the Templars. But as the Mamluks, led by Sultan Kalawan, advanced on the city, the fate of the Crusaders was sealed. The Templars, who had once held the fortress with fierce determination, found themselves outnumbered and outmatched. The Mamluks laid siege to the city, cutting off supplies and slowly wearing down the defenders. It was a brutal, protracted struggle, but in the end, the Crusaders were forced to surrender. On May 28, 1289, Tripoli fell to the Mamluks, and the Templar order's hold on the Levant was effectively shattered. As the Mamluks breached the walls of the citadel and stormed the streets, the Templars fought to the last, defending their sacred ground. But despite their valiant efforts, the city was lost. The Templar Knights, along with the remaining defenders, were either killed or captured, and the once proud fortress was left in ruins. The Mamluks, however, did not simply raze the city. They plundered it, removing any valuables and destroying much of what remained of the Crusader presence. In the aftermath of the battle, the city was left in ashes, its walls scorched by the flames of war. Local legends tell of a strange phenomenon witnessed by those who had survived the siege.
a mysterious red light that illuminated the sky over the Mediterranean for hours after the battle had ended. Some believed this was a celestial omen, a sign from the heavens that the end of the Crusader states had come. Others whispered that it was the burning of the Templar archives, a final act of defiance before the Knights were overwhelmed by the Mamluk forces. The fall of Tripoli marked the end of an era. With the city lost, the Templars had little left in the Holy Land. The Crusader states were on the brink of collapse, and the once feared military order would soon find itself powerless. Within a decade, the Templar order would be officially dissolved in Europe, following a series of political and religious pressures, particularly from King Philip IV of France, who sought to eliminate the order for both political and financial reasons. But the legacy of the Templars was far from over. While the knights themselves were scattered and their castles crumbled into ruin, their hidden knowledge, the secrets they had uncovered in the lands of Lebanon, the sacred geometry, the Phoenician codes, would endure, whispered through the corridors of time. The Templars' association with ancient wisdom, their quest for celestial knowledge, and their involvement with the Assassins and the Phoenician Legacy would continue to resonate long after the fall of Tripoli. Rumors began to circulate that a handful of knights had managed to escape from Tripoli before the Mamluks could seize them. According to local legend, these survivors fled the city by sea, carrying with them chests filled with precious scrolls, relics, and the secrets of the Templar Order. Some believed that these knights traveled to Cyprus, while others claimed they made their way to France or Scotland, where they continued their work in secret, preserving the knowledge of their fallen order. The myth of the Templar escapees began to spread throughout Europe, and with it, the belief that the Templars had hidden their most sacred relics, the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, and other mystical artifacts in secret locations, waiting for the right moment to reveal them to the world. This belief in hidden treasures and lost knowledge would become a central part of Templar lore, fueling centuries of speculation and intrigue. Back in Lebanon, the remnants of the Templar legacy persisted, albeit in a more subtle form. The ruins of Tripoli Citadel, once a symbol of the Crusaders' power, stood as a silent monument to the past. Yet even as the Mamluks rebuilt the city and established their own rule, the shadow of the Templars remained. In the centuries that followed, travelers and historians visiting Tripoli began to notice strange markings etched into the stone walls of the citadel, symbols that resembled the Templar cross intertwined with Phoenician waves. Some of these markings appeared in places where the Templars had likely lived and worked, while others were found deep within the tunnels and catacombs beneath the city. It is believed that these markings were not mere decorations, but rather coded messages, hidden messages left by the Templars to preserve their knowledge for future generations. Some speculate that these symbols were linked to the Phoenician codes, the same codes that the Templars had once studied in their quest for sacred geometry and celestial alignment. If this is true, the Templars may have encoded their most important discoveries, including the secrets of the stars, the lost pathways of Phoenician sailors, and the hidden wisdom of the ancients, into these cryptic carvings. As the centuries passed, the ruins of Tripoli became a focal point for those who sought to uncover the mysteries of the past. Local legends flourished, blending fact and myth into a tapestry of mystery. Some claimed that the Templars had left behind a secret library beneath the citadel, containing scrolls and books filled with ancient knowledge. Others believed that the ruins themselves were a map, guiding the way to hidden treasures and untold secrets. In the 14th century, a group of sailors passing through the area reported seeing strange symbols carved into the cliffs near Byblos and Antha, symbols that resembled the Templar cross intertwined with Phoenician waves. These sailors claimed that the symbols had been there for centuries, and that they were part of a greater network of hidden messages left by the Templars to protect their secrets. The Templar legacy, though lost to history, continued to echo through the land, quietly passing from one generation to the next. And as the years turned into centuries, The legend of the Templars, their secret knowledge, and their connection to the Phoenicians took root in the collective imagination of Lebanon and the wider world. In the end, the fall of Tripoli was not just the end of the Crusader states, but the birth of a legend that would endure through the ages. The Templars, with their secrets and their codes, would live on in the shadows, waiting for the right time to reveal themselves once more.
The centuries passed, and the memory of the Templars faded into the mists of history. The Crusader states, once a powerful presence in the Levant, crumbled under the weight of successive empires. The Mamluks eventually gave way to the Ottomans, and the city of Tripoli was reshaped by new rulers, new cultures, and new ideologies. Yet despite the passage of time, the legend of the Templars persisted, not just in the whispers of local legend, but also in the global imagination. By the 19th and 20th centuries, Tripoli had long since been abandoned as a Crusader stronghold, but the allure of its mysterious past remained. The ruins of the Templar Citadel, though weathered by time, still stood tall against the skyline, casting a long shadow over the modern city. Local historians, archaeologists, and adventurers began to take interest in the past, combing through the crumbling walls in search of clues. What they discovered was a blend of history and myth, a tantalizing combination of tangible evidence and the unprovable allure of hidden knowledge. In the midst of this resurgence of interest, the legend of the Templars' connection to the Phoenician codes began to take on new life. For centuries, the idea that the Templars had uncovered ancient secrets in Lebanon had been relegated to the realm of fiction and myth. But as the world entered the modern era, scholars and esoteric researchers began to re-examine old texts, maps, and manuscripts that had long been overlooked. It was during this period of renewed interest that the Templar codes, their sacred geometry, their celestial alignments, and their cryptic symbols began to attract the attention of a new generation of seekers. Some historians believed that the Templars had deliberately encoded their knowledge into the design of their castles and fortresses, including those in Lebanon. Others speculated that the Templars had hidden their most valuable secrets in plain sight, woven into the fabric of the landscape itself. One of the most intriguing discoveries occurred when modern archaeologists, using advanced imaging technology, began to scan the ruins of the Tripoli Citadel. Hidden beneath centuries of rubble and decay, they discovered faint traces of symbols carved into the walls, symbols that resembled both Templar crosses and ancient Phoenician patterns. The discovery, while not definitive proof of a hidden Templar treasure, raised new questions about the possible connection between the two cultures. In addition to these physical discoveries, the growing interest in esoteric knowledge and ancient mysteries led to the rise of numerous Templar-themed societies and organizations. Freemasons, secret societies, and occult groups, many of which claimed to trace their origins back to the Templars, began to gain prominence in the Western world. These organizations, with their rituals, symbols, and philosophies, revived interest in the Templar Legacy, and with it, the idea that the Templars had preserved ancient knowledge that was still relevant to the modern world. One of the most well-known examples of this phenomenon was the popularization of Templar-related conspiracy theories and mystical beliefs in the 20th century. From novels to films to video games, the Templars were reimagined as guardians of lost knowledge, holding the keys to secrets that could unlock the mysteries of the universe. In particular, the Assassin's Creed video game series, with its depiction of an ongoing struggle between the Templars and Assassins, both seeking control of powerful ancient knowledge, captured the imagination of millions. The game's portrayal of the Templars' search for sacred relics and esoteric wisdom, combined with their connections to the Knights Hospitaller and the Assassins, brought the ancient order into the popular consciousness once more. Though many of these depictions were fictionalized or exaggerated for dramatic effect, they drew heavily from the real history and symbolism of the Templars. The mysterious symbols,
the secret codes, and the idea of an ancient conflict over hidden wisdom resonated deeply with those who sought to uncover the truth behind the myths. The Templar connection to the Phoenician legacy, once thought to be a lost thread in history, now had a second life in the world of popular culture. But the real mystery lay in the question of whether there was any truth to the legends. Did the Templars, in their time in Lebanon, really uncover a hidden wisdom? Did they discover the ancient Phoenician codes, a secret knowledge passed down from the masters of the sea? Or was it simply the projection of centuries of speculation and imagination? Some researchers believe that the Templars' time in Lebanon and their interactions with the local scholars, mystics, and scribes left an indelible mark on their understanding of sacred geometry and the hidden forces of the universe. In this view, the Templars were not merely warriors in search of religious relics, but seekers of a deeper, more universal truth. The Phoenicians, with their mastery of the seas and their profound understanding of geometry and astronomy, may have passed on a knowledge that transcended religion and empire, a knowledge that the Templars sought to preserve and pass down through the centuries. For others, the idea of a hidden Templar-Phoenician connection is little more than romantic fantasy, a story woven together from fragments of history, legend, and imagination. But regardless of the truth, the Templar legacy and its connection to Lebanon's ancient past continues to captivate the minds of those who seek to understand the mysteries of the past. In Tripoli, the ruins of the Templar Citadel still stand, a silent monument to the age of the Crusades and the mysteries that may have been lost in the fires of history. The red light seen over the sea in the aftermath of the battle, whether an omen or a reflection of the burning archives, still lingers in the collective memory of the city. And as the sun sets over the Mediterranean, the shadows of the Templars seem to stretch long across the landscape, guarding their secrets, waiting for the moment when the light of knowledge will once again illuminate the forgotten paths of the ancients. The legend of the Templars, like the stars in the sky, endures, shining faintly but steadily through the mists of time.
As the sun sinks below the horizon, casting a soft, golden glow over Tripoli, the city's ancient ruins stand silhouetted against the fading light. The wind, carrying the salt of the Mediterranean, whispers through the labyrinthine streets, once trod by crusaders and Phoenicians, by merchants, mystics, and soldiers. The silence of the night, broken only by the occasional call of a distant bird or the rustle of a falling leaf, holds within it the weight of centuries. And in that stillness, the legacy of the Templars, of their encounters with the Phoenician secrets, lingers, like the faint echo of a long-forgotten song. The world has changed, and yet, in places like Tripoli, the past is never far from the present. The walls of the Templar Citadel still stand, though their stones are worn by time and weather. The once imposing fortress, a symbol of the might and mystery of the Crusader Knights, now bears the quiet marks of history's passing. Cracked walls, fading carvings, and buried chambers yet to be fully explored. Yet there is a strange serenity in these ruins. Despite the centuries that have passed, there is a sense that the place is still waiting for someone, perhaps, to uncover its final secrets. Under the moonlit sky, the waves crash gently against the shore, as they have done for millennia. The same waters that carried Phoenician traders, Crusader ships, and Templar knights still lap at the ancient stones of the Lebanese coast, bearing with them the whispers of those long gone. Some say that if you listen closely enough,
you can still hear the faint murmur of voices from the past discussing codes and celestial charts, debating the geometry of the heavens, and guarding secrets that were never meant to be revealed. Perhaps, as some suggest, the truth of the Templars' legacy in Lebanon lies not in tangible artifacts, but in the places themselves, in the alignment of ancient cities, the hidden messages in the design of temples and fortresses, and in the enduring belief that there is more to the world than meets the eye. The Phoenician codes, some say, were never just about treasure or hidden relics. They were about understanding the divine harmony of the universe, about seeking enlightenment, and about preserving knowledge that transcends time and space. In the modern world, the Templar legacy is ever present, not just in the physical ruins that remain, but in the culture of mystery and discovery that surrounds them. Books, films, games, and television shows continue to explore the idea of the Templars, the Assassins, and the lost knowledge of the ancients. The modern fascination with secret societies, sacred geometry, and hidden wisdom owes much to the myths and mysteries that have surrounded the Templars for centuries. Yet, for all the romanticism that surrounds the Templars' legend, there remains an air of mystery that continues to elude resolution. The questions about what the Templars truly discovered in Tripoli and whether they decoded the secrets of the Phoenician codes will likely never be fully answered. The truth may be buried beneath the sand, hidden in the stars, or preserved in the geometry of the ancient cities that dot the Lebanese coastline. For now, the story of the Templars' Lebanese legacy remains part of the eternal dance between history and myth. It is a story told in whispers, passed down from generation to generation, in books and legends, in the ruins of ancient cities, and in the pages of modern novels. It is a story that will continue to captivate the imagination of those who seek the truth of the past, and perhaps the truth of the stars themselves. And so, as the night deepens and the city of Tripoli falls into quiet slumber, the red light that once illuminated the sea, seen by those who witnessed the fall of the Templar Citadel, still burns faintly in the minds of those who remember the ancient past. Whether as a celestial omen, a reflection of the Templar archives burning, or simply as a piece of the grand cosmic puzzle that is Lebanon's rich and complex history, the light endures. Somewhere between myth and history, between the sword and the scroll, the truth of the Templars' Lebanese legacy lies waiting to be uncovered. But until that moment comes, the city remains, a city of secrets, of ancient codes, of whispered legends, where the past and present exist side by side, and where the light of knowledge continues to beckon just beyond the horizon.
The night sky over Tripoli is a tapestry of stars, each one a flickering beacon in the vastness of the cosmos. To the ancient Phoenicians, the stars were not merely distant lights, but guides, markers for the paths that stretched across the seas, linking the known world with the unknown. The same stars that once guided their ships, those intrepid sailors who braved the Mediterranean's treacherous waters, continued to shine down on the city today, as though watching over the legacy they left behind. For the Templars, the stars were not just navigational tools. They were part of a greater cosmic design, a divine order that connected the heavens to the earth. The sacred geometry that the Templars admired was rooted in this belief that the universe, from the stars above to the stones below, was a reflection of a higher truth, a divine harmony waiting to be uncovered. And in the ancient ruins of Tripoli, in the remnants of the Phoenician temples and the Crusader fortresses, they may have glimpsed a glimpse of that truth. The Templars' time in Lebanon was brief, but it left an indelible mark. The citadel, once the heart of their military might, now stands as a silent witness to centuries of history.
Its stones have borne witness to the rise and fall of empires, to the ebb and flow of cultures, and to the passage of time itself. But beneath the surface, beneath the walls and the rubble, lies something deeper, a story that continues to unfold, a mystery that still calls to those willing to listen. The Phoenician codes, with their geometric patterns, celestial alignments, and cryptic symbols, remain a tantalizing enigma. Some believe that these codes were not just remnants of an ancient civilization, but keys to understanding the universe itself, the hidden knowledge that the Templars sought to protect. Whether these codes were ever fully understood or decoded remains unknown, but the idea that they hold a deeper wisdom, one that transcends time, culture, and religion, continues to resonate with those who are drawn to the mysteries of the past. In modern times, the legacy of the Templars and the Phoenicians is not confined to the pages of history books or the ruins of ancient cities. It lives on in the hearts of those who seek to uncover the secrets of the past, who search for meaning in the stars and in the patterns of the world around them. The Templar order may have been dissolved centuries ago, but its spirit endures. In the architecture of Gothic cathedrals, in the rituals of secret societies, and in the continuing quest for knowledge that transcends the material world. Even now, the light of the Templars shines across the globe. The fascination with their mysteries, their hidden codes, and their ancient wisdom has never waned. It is a light that draws people from all walks of life, from scholars to adventurers, from mystics to skeptics. And while the answers may not always be clear, the search itself, the search for truth, for enlightenment, for understanding, is what continues to drive us forward. The legacy of the Templars, then, is not just about the past. It is about the future, about the questions we continue to ask, the mysteries we continue to pursue, and the light that continues to beckon us onward, just beyond the horizon. In Tripoli, the ancient city by the sea, the echoes of the Templars and the Phoenicians still resonate. The citadel stands as a symbol of a time long gone, but its presence remains a testament to the enduring power of the past. The Phoenician codes, the Templar geometry, and the ancient wisdom that once flowed through these lands may be lost to history, but they have not been forgotten. They live on, in the stories we tell, in the places we visit, and in the mysteries we continue to explore. As the night deepens and the stars shine ever more brightly, the light of the past continues to guide us. The legacy of the Templars, of the Phoenicians, and of the ancient civilizations that once called Lebanon home is far from extinguished. It remains, like the stars themselves, ever present, ever shining, ever waiting for us to find our way to the light beyond the horizon.